welcome back to The Watch. And what did we just watch, Marcus?
Last of Us Episode 2.
Last of Us Episode 2. And pretty much kind of what I was expecting. Your guys' thoughts?
I think it was better.
You thought it was better?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I was actually really happy with this episode.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah. But there's certain reasons as to why I'm happy with this episode that are related to the game, but that we'll get into in a bit later on.
That's interesting. I have complex thoughts. I'll share mine in a second. Tyrant?
I thought it was good. Like, all in all, I think it's good. It comes into a bit of a tricky where, like, would you recommend it? And that's where it gets a little bit more complicated.
I still wouldn't yet.
Not yet.
But
yeah,
so far, it's not bad.
I would still call it good, yes. This episode, interesting. I found it more satisfying in terms of engagement, enjoyability, and character. But in terms of actual logical plot, the entire episode, the main conflict of this episode is founded on something that I thought was pretty dumb in retrospect.
Yeah, I know what part you're referencing to. Yeah,
yeah,
it's not great.
It does. I think I'm still sitting on like a 7 out of 10 for me. You guys?
Probably.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
All the warnings that we gave for episode 1 still very much in place for episode 2.
They're going to apply for everything.
Episode.
Well, here's the thing. We got to bring this up. Neil Druckmann directed this one.
I saw that.
So
He's like, if he is actually directing episodes now, this is heading towards a Joel in one.
I will give him this though. Yeah, I'll give Druckmann this. He directed it very well.
Okay, was that? Yes,
for the most part. There's a couple parts.
I
but
only
he did
wonder
it well.
if it was solely him. He had a co-director. How much help?
I have no idea.
If it was
It's hard
him,
to know.
I would agree. There was actually some creative, like uses. What would I say? Creative, good uses of camera angles and things. And so, decent.
Yeah,
But it feels like we know where this is headed.
that's the concerning part.
Yep.
Especially now. That's the thing. The part of me that was like, oh yeah, it's doing what the game did. It's also like, oh, it's doing what the game did. And that's where I'm like, so that means I already know where the season's gonna end.
we have a golf club on the horizon, people.
No, that's probably next season, but it's gonna set that up. Though.
It's looming.
That's what's worrying me.
So, as we've already discussed off camera, what worries me, and I'm pretty sure it'll worry you too as well, is if Neil Druckmann is quite involved with this, is if he's going to rewrite history a bit here to fit what happened in the second.
That is very plausible.
So if there's any issues, things that are make or break it, they will happen at the end of the season.
Yeah. Especially with the climax and how it concludes.
Yes.
Easily.
So overall, there was some, more. Well, I guess they had scary areas last time, but they try and lean into it a bit more here. As a result, you get a bit more engaged. Characterizations, I found Ellie to be about as annoying as last time. I didn't really like her anymore.
There was one scene I was like, that's kind of like Ellie from the game.
Yeah.
Just one scene though. So they still got a bit more work to do.
They do. Joel was still good as Joel, like about as good as last episode.
Yep.
And that's kind of it. The other big observation, I think, about I guess this what also brings it down for me. It feels like it's moving very slow.
Yeah,
not a lot was achieved in this episode.
Yeah, there's a bit of padding going on, which is not a great sign, especially when it's just like scenes of walking upstairs and stuff.
I mean, it creates atmosphere and
does.
suspense.
And there were some good.
But I remember pausing it, right? And then shocked at how little was left of the episode compared to how much was achieved. It's like, well, we haven't really gotten anywhere. And maybe it throws me because last episode was almost a movie length. It was nearly an hour and a half.
Yep.
And so maybe am I just expecting too much? I don't know.
I felt as though they moved reasonably fast. Like they got, because we're not in spoilers yet, but they got something out of the way relatively quickly so we can get to
It's
talking
true.
big elements. Yeah.
It's true. The end of the episode did achieve something, which I was expecting.
But like you said, the smaller elements of like walking upstairs or doing like they do feel kind of slow at times.
That's why I think they needed more dialogue stuff with characters.
Maybe.
Just a bit more of those like insightful conversations. Maybe that would have helped speed it along.
And
Of course, there are moments where they can't, but there are also opportunities where they could have taken it.
my final observation before we go to spoilers, it was this episode was very predictable. Like there was a reveal at the end, which I was like, obviously, like as soon as they set it up, you know what's like. Don't come on. And look, I haven't played the games, all right? And so, but that was.
I'm interested to hear
on
on that element because I don't have that experience. All of it's predictable to me.
Okay, yeah.
Because I know what they're doing.
Well, with that out of the way, we'll move on from spoilers down to the actual specifics. So that's your warning, out of spoilers, and moving on to the episode. So it starts with a flashback. Okay?
Yeah, it's Jakarta in Indonesia, which they set up in the first episode is where it's like ground zero, pretty much.
So she inspects like a lady infected.
Yeah, they basically military goes after this lady, and they have like this long sequence of where you think she's the infected one, but turns out she's not. She's here to inspect the infection. She's actually an expert on this type of fungus.
Yeah. And they're kind of like playing it that she knows how apocalyptic this is. They ask her what to do, and she basically says, bomb the cities.
Yeah. She said there's no cure, there's no medicine, you don't have a choice, really.
So, I mean, it sets the stage of how extreme it is.
Yeah, and they also explained that little thing that we had concerns about in episode 1 about why all the cities look like that. And now we know.
They answered that.
Now we know.
I love when they fill in kind of stuff like that in a satisfying way. I agree with that. I'm not sure. I don't know. Like I'm not unfamiliar. I'm just unfamiliar with this kind of a fungus thing, right? And so I'm not sure it would be like instant apocalyptic, measures, bomb everything right away before they try and stop the spread, find a cure or anything like that.
Yeah, maybe it's a bit too quick and we don't know how much time passes.
Like that's a leap. This lady's going extreme. But in terms of the emotional impact, I think that comes across.
The whole scene just reminded me, because I know you've seen Chernobyl, doesn't it? Sort of has those vibes at times, especially when she enters the room with the body and all that.
Oh yeah.
Kind of reminded me of the radiation scene.
Then she's, take me back to my family so I can die together, and so it was emotional in that part as well. Intro.
And then we're back to the present.
So. I like what they did here.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a slow intro. She's resting all nicely. She wakes up and then she looks and they're just basically got a gun to her.
Which is good. Which is a reasonable reaction for characters that are like that survived that long.
I like it. I mean, was this in the game? What? She has a gun pointed at her and she's like, F you, It's just like...
that scenario didn't really happen, I don't think.
They're that close from blowing your brains out. It's just like, screw you.
Yeah.
Well, it's safe to assume they've been watching her all night because there's obviously the time limits of how long things spread. So she's probably past like when it should have happened by now. So they're probably just like, okay, what's going on here?
But even when like... They are so trigger happy, right? When she actually starts to pretend like she's twitching, like... you don't know how she doesn't know these people well yet. You don't know how trigger happy she is, and she's tempting them to blow her brains out. It's just like, I feel like they're going too far with her being snarky in your face and not showing actual fear and hesitation.
Yeah, because Ellie was definitely snarky in the game. It's just here, it's a bit too much. It needs to be drawn back a bit.
I agree, but then I can also look at it like it's a kid being a smartass.
I know kids can be smartasses, but they like with a gun pointed at your head.
Well, I mean, you live in an apocalypse, so I mean, like,
maybe if she got hardened insanely, but kids oftentimes can speak a real big game, and when they try and put the metal to the test, they back down really easy. Like kids are spooked and freaked out so much easier, and it takes a lot of hardening to get to that point where you can be like F you with a gun to your face.
But given the context of being like in an apocalypse in a room like this with zombies and stuff,
I don't know.
She hasn't seen this. Oh, she has.
She has. She got bit. Maybe. I don't know. For me, I'm in the middle on that one. I'm still not sure. I'm not decided on Ellie yet.
Yeah. Maybe so. As I already mentioned, I haven't been sold on her yet. I know they tried to make her act a bit more playful at one point. I think towards the end.
If we get more of that, maybe it'll work.
Yeah.
Which that's a moment we'll get to because it is a pretty good moment. But all this is just the whole setup of just needing to get her to a certain place, because I did like the moment though.
There was a good conversation between Joel
Tess when Tess goes to Ellie, says, "Listen, we're not good people. I'm going to treat you like an adult. Tell us what you're of value for. Explain that to us, and then we can continue. Otherwise, we have no reason to have you around."
Yeah, there was a poorly delivered line by Ellie when she's getting interrogated by the woman, where it's just like, I don't know, I felt like it was forced, and to the audience where it's like, I promise I wouldn't tell anyone. I'm going to tell the first person I meet. It's like, would you say that out loud? I feel like that was forced just for the audience, and it wasn't delivered well. And you didn't need it.
To be fair, though, that was kind of an Ellie moment.
Was it? You
Yeah.
reckon?
From the game.
Oh, I don't know the
it's
game.
something, but I can understand why it would come across that way.
Does she speak her thoughts out loud so stupidly?
Occasionally.
Okay. All right. If they're consistent with it, I'll give it a pass. This is the first sign of it for me, and I was just like,
It could have been delivered better.
No.
what are you laughing at?
It's like, I can excuse all these things off as just children being children. I just feel like that's too like a little nitpick that I didn't
I
bother
am
me.
ultra nitpicky. That's what I'm here for. That's what you guys are here for. Alrighty, so yep, they leave.
Don't worry, there's something I'm going to nitpick in like a few seconds.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to nitpick it. You probably point out, what was the one thing that you had an issue with? The watch repairing?
Yeah.
And you call me a nitpicker?
That's accurate, though. That is factually. Don't get me started.
All right, loved the visuals of the city.
Yeah,
Honestly. They looked great. It's so frustrating, right? If it was an exchange in the modern media landscape, I'll take better writing over better visuals, anything, wholesale, any day of the week, right? And a lot of high budget stuff is getting lots of good visuals, but hasn't got the good writing to match it.
Yep.
This one, we're yet to see how consistent it will be with the writing front. But when there's less pissing me off about the writing, I can then start to actually enjoy the visuals.
Yeah.
Because at no point... Actually, I did think it maybe once or twice in Rings of Power. I was like, hey, really cool visual. I was too pissed off about how retarded everything was to be able to appreciate it.
That's usually how it goes. When you can actually you're not distracted by everything else, you can go, wow, they did a good job there.
So far, what I think I'm appreciating the most is, I say a fresh take, but it's like a decade-old game or however old it is. Like, how old is it now?
2013.
Yeah, it's super old. So, and I know the story, but I mean, like on the screen, it feels like a fresh take because there's so much oversaturation of zombie stuff. I feel like this is...
They're colorful zombies.
Yeah. It's
They're colorful, creative zombies.
Yeah, and they're creepy.
And so, yeah, just the whole like fungus thing adds actually a really cool kind of hook, interesting element to the zombie genre.
I was thinking about it the other day.
What?
The spore aspect.
Yeah,
They mentioned the spores in this episode.
But in the games, they're always got gas masks on. So it's one of those things where I'm kind of split on it. It adds a lot more tension with the spores.
I'm still there as well, because the spore stuff just adds so much, so many good reveals, so many good moments.
Yeah. But
lots of...
I understand for this sort of medium, you want to have the actors be able to actually act. And
I don't know. I always find their excuse was, we need their faces. That's a poor excuse to completely negate something really
because they're not going to wear masks all the time.
Yeah, it would just be like near where the clickers are and the really bad fungal.
I'm still really split on it. It's one of those things where it's like, I feel like it would add a lot more tension, but I'm also enjoying so far. So I'm not sure yet.
Well, I thought they were doing no spores at all, but Ellie actually mentioned spores, that there are whatever zombie things that can explode and release spores, and she says it. And so there's a measure of spores that are just not in the air everywhere.
We have to see how it works. It's one thing to be told it.
Yeah, like I am a little out of the loop on how infection works here from these things.
You breathe it pretty much in the game.
You have to breathe it. So you can touch it and you'll be fine. Because when Joel is getting so close to this fungus stuff that I thought was like infection central, he even touches it's dry, but he touches it. To me, I was like,
as I understand it, it's bite and breathing it. Breathing the spores.
So think of it like mold. Like if you have mold in your house, like black mold or something like that, you don't want to be breathing it. You don't want to be going like that and stuff. It's supposed to be like that. With this, it seems very tame in certain aspects.
Yeah, it's still got to see it in action, I suppose.
because the other thing, like
Here's my nitpick.
All right, but I'll just finish my point before you go crazy, Tyrant.
I'm not going to go crazy. I just want to point
It
something out.
didn't look like Ellie or the lady got bit. They got scratched by like finger scratches by the things. It looks like she opens her arm and it's a little cut, and she's like, "This would have infected me." And when she shows her neck, it's like a little cut, and so I'm like, "Is it biting now? I don't freaking know." Anyway, that's my.
We'll have to. I need to look at that again then.
We'll see it. We'll see.
I thought that was a bite on the neck.
I was certain it was a bite.
Yeah.
We'll have a look. We'll double check.
Yeah, skip ahead just a little.
I thought it was a nitpick.
Right about. We get a good shot because we're talking about how they're bombing cities. They've bombed this one, but there's a shot that they do where the bomb is right there, and then there we go. There's a perfectly standing building, literally right next to it.
Doesn't seem like a very effective bomb in terms of wiping out larger areas.
So, I mean, like when they bombed the cities, did they work?
Like it was large enough to make a crater.
Killed like 5 people in that little circle.
That's a huge crater. That type of bomb would have done more damage
that
around
building
it.
should be gone.
Yeah.
Should be, but oh well, that's an oversight.
Good observation there, Tyrone.
They're
Bloody
talking,
unforgivable.
they're talking about bombs in a
true.
giant crater, and there's a giant building standing right next to them.
This is the lead up to some of my, because they say, 2 options, the we're dead option or the long way. And look, I like Ellie's response in that where it's like, judging on the available information, I say we go the long way. Look, good. That was a good line. My thing was like, it's not that hard to go around. Buildings are big, but like this one's probably 100, 200 meters tall at most. That's not a huge detour.
Yeah.
And what they're trying to set up of how it's difficult to get to where or when just didn't feel like logical to me, especially when they set up that they have to go into the museum.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
I wasn't convinced. I was like, you probably could have gone around.
Not only that, like, look, we're already there basically, but that's my biggest criticism of the episode, because a lot of the episodes actually, the conflict, the reason, both Ellie and Thingo get bitten and everything, because they go into this museum.
Yep.
And there was nowhere near enough logical justification for them to do it. Because all they want to do is get to the roof. And you're going to risk going into a hive-infested... You saw the fungus on this thing. Are you suicidal? It would have been safer to climb the outside of the building to get to the roof than risk going inside it. It's just, come on. And then they just go across this thing to another building. And it's like... Couldn't you go into the building? Would have been right there then. They didn't justify that this was the only place. And you're telling me you can't, like, if it's your life on the line, I would be more than happy to take a 1 kilometer, 2 kilometer detour, even more.
That feels more like a appeal to, like, I guess, what they're setting up, because they're supposed to be smugglers, right? So when you have a smuggler, you assume that they have pre-approved routes that they know are relatively safe.
But the thing is, they saw the building and the fungus growing out.
Yeah, that's why.
They knew it was. And then when they're in there...
They said it was the dead way, and then they would try to go the other way, which collapsed.
Yeah, like... The thing is, going into the building, from what we observe, right, it seems like they could have achieved what they got from going into the building in a lot of other ways, is what I'm saying.
I know,
and then when they're in the building, they freaking hear the clickers, and you're like... Maybe you're still on the bottom floor. You can leave. And they just like, no, we're committed, basically.
The only conclusion I can draw from that is, because I know what you think, like they could just go around a different building. I'm just assuming with logic that those other ways are filled with buildings that are filled with a bunch of, infected. So the only way is either through the motel way or through the museum way. That's how that comes
Other buildings
across.
From the outside, no sign of infected in. This building, literally apocalypse fungus growing out of the windows. I was like, which one might be safer?
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that's the only conclusion I can draw from that.
What pissed me off even more about this stupid thing, they could have achieved everything they wanted in the plot without making them look pretty dumb by just making the building look safe from the outside. And it's like... and Ellie even says, we're not supposed to go in buildings. Like, no, this one's been safe. We've vetted it. And then, but you can't predict where these clickers might appear and everything.
Oh,
and
you
so it's
force
always
them
risk.
in there.
And they just get jumped, out of the blue because even they set up, you could get jumped at any time. They're always on edge and everything. And so they could just get jumped at any time, had the fight, had the thing, get bitten, achieve what they want, and not make them look like retards by going into an obviously infested building with fungus growing out of the windows.
They did check it before they went in.
It was, oh, no, come on. With that level of fungus, they had no guarantee. They say that these guys can live up to 20 years, right?
Yeah.
And so just because some fungus has dried out, there's no guarantee that there would not be, zombie people in there.
Well,
and shock horror, what do they find? Zombie people
Well,
in
I
there.
think the whole thing about it being dried out is that it can't detect when how it detects when somebody's around.
And alerts the other one.
See,
Yeah, exactly.
to me,
When
I
it's
thought that
dry,
was them.
it's basically
I
dead.
thought that was them trying to justify there's probably no zombies in there, and they're trying to set up that this is the only path when clearly it wasn't. They use it to cross over from a rooftop to get just to get to the roof. So I don't find something that's crap everywhere that you can probably jury rig a ladder or something and get to the roof from the outside.
I agree. I'm just saying that how they logically set it up.
Was dumb.
Pay attention, audience. This is how Tyrant says he agrees. You opened yourself
Using
up
the
there.
rules that they set in the show so far, it's believable. That doesn't mean that it's perfect. That doesn't mean it's believable. The only reason why two smugglers who smuggle things would choose two different routes is because they know that
No, I can't believe that. Like, that'd have to be so stupid.
I would want more explanations. If anything, I would
you're
rather
speaking
they
to someone who'd be like, yeah, I'll build a ladder and climb up it instead of going into a building.
Yeah.
But they're not playing by those rules. So,
I mean,
Well, look, the obvious thing they should have done is go to like a few different routes, find them like blockaded or just unable to go through, then go the museum route because like this is the last option. That might have fixed it.
he almost would help it, right?
Yeah.
But remember, for your life, a 5K detour, like a day's detour, right? To save your life is not going far out of the way, in my opinion. Yeah, they get to the location a bit later, but seriously.
this next bit confuses me a bit because then they're like on an overpass.
Yeah.
They go from like in the city to an overpass to get to a building to get to the other side. Like that, this legitimately kind of confuses
Yeah,
me.
geography is a bit confusing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a couple of things also confuse me as well. We see like the highway, right? If you want to get in and out of the city with most ease to avoid buildings where clickers are hiding and stuff, the highway would have been prime option. 20 years have passed. Are you telling me no one has gone through with like, I don't know, a really big truck with like some type of snow plow at the front to just barrel a path through the highway so you can get easy access to this? It's like the city is completely cut off with no direct access point for cars and stuff, because otherwise that would be the route that you'd be taking, presumably. But they're showing the highways and everything. Everything is blocked. It's so freaking hard to even get out of the city that you have to climb through buildings. And it's like, how do they get supplies and cars and stuff to the city now?
That would be game design going into a TV show because that's just... I have nothing for that. It's the same thing in the game.
And because maybe I was thinking like walking is the quicker path because the car ride might be go over, but then they show the highway and it's completely packed.
I'm just wondering how that car flipped over.
So yeah, like you'd think just walking along the highways then would be the most safest route. But then more destroyed cities. That's a lot of city intact for being shelled.
Yeah.
And like we saw the city
Same
that they
thing
come
in the game.
from, and everything was rubble.
Well, we saw that those bombs don't really do anything
I
except
guess
they're a
so.
10-meter radius.
Yeah, it's like, I
The
guess.
car bomb was more effective.
Yes, it was. That took out all the big building.
Yeah, I guess so.
Alrighty, so they go into the hotel, and there's this scene with Ellie where she's like playful.
Well, she freaks out at first saying she can't swim, which...
Yeah. Fun little exchange.
One thing
This
that
was
does
a good part.
one thing that does bother me is like they're way too comfortable making a lot of noise all the time. That I do not like.
Yeah,
Just
I
like
agree.
period. I would be like, everybody, hand signals.
Shut the hell up.
Nobody talk. Nobody make a sound.
Well, that's where I was starting to wonder, like, how alert are the clickers to? Will you always hear them click before they hear you sound? But then there's literally clickers that like only see through sound by what they showed in this episode.
Yeah.
And so, I agree. After seeing that,
That's always been unclear. It's even more annoying when it's game mechanics.
So, look, funny little exchange there. Can't get through. And this is where I was wondering about the noise thing, because you're
Yes,
okay making
smacking
a
on
certain
those
amount of
doors,
noise, right? And this is an old door. You're telling me you just can't boot it down.
That's what
and
I
she
was
has to
thinking.
climb through, up and all around and stuff.
It's
And
more one of those things like would you want to make noise on a door you don't know what's behind?
Maybe, but you know, it just made me wonder.
I mean, at least a lot of these issues are normal.
Yeah,
They're not insane
They're not
things, which is nice.
I don't know. Going into the fungus house is
that
bordering
one
on
kinda
insane
goes,
for
yeah.
me. It's just
That one, kind of. I'm not sure it's fully insane. But at least they got a moment to talk.
this
Right,
one
our
is
two
probably a nitpick, right?
Okay, go for it.
I don't know, like taking out a knife and flipping it for the sake of flipping it.
Come on.
No, Shad, come on.
We have weapons everywhere, and we play with them all the time.
Okay, good, you got me. I withdraw it. I withdraw it.
Yeah.
I just want to see it consistent then, because like I hadn't seen her fiddle with a knife, you know, whenever she has I want to see fiddling with knives now.
Yeah.
This was just a one. We'll see.
She should do that.
Because
more
if not, right, it was forced artificially to get Joel to ask her about the knife
and spark a conversation.
and spark a conversation.
I'm pretty sure in the first episode she was pretty obsessed with that thing. So
We'll see. We'll see. Consistency.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, all right, maybe if it was flick out, flick in. When you're throwing it like that, right?
okay, yeah.
I wouldn't do that with a knife.
I wouldn't do that either because that's not
It's
how you-
dangerous and cut yourself, and it's easy to fumble. And I'm actually quite proficient with bladed instruments. You might not know, right? And as a result, I also know how dangerous they are. So you be careful and you don't be in like
Yes,
overly
you wouldn't throw it like that.
a
but-
sharp bladed knife.
But again, they got something simple like the watch wrong, so maybe they just
maybe
don't have
like she could have just sat there
Maybe
and
they're
flick it
not
out
Yes.
and flick it in, flick it out. I do that with my car keys. You know how the car keys got like a flick thing?
Yeah,
It's
Yeah,
fun.
I
It's
do
like-
it too.
I do that with actual knives. not
Exactly.
keys.
That I get the spinning. That's probably the thing that really made me just start to.
No, that's fair.
Alrighty.
I mean, the conversation's all right though.
Yeah, just
It's,
small little
it
things.
just, I don't know. I guess I'm just waiting for the bigger conversation moments.
Yeah. It was a good start. I'm pointing him in the right direction where. And you get to see some of Joel's character where Ellie tries to ask him about personal things. He just says, pass, and stuff. So,
Yeah, that's in line with Joel. Joel's handled pretty well.
all right. So, I'm a bit confused here, right? They were trying to imply that this was the long way but safer way round. What are you laughing
Yeah,
at?
no, it's
Tom?
not that. Like, I get what you're saying. I get what you're about to say. They're in front of a building, it's blocked, and then they go on like an overpass, then they go up on
But the
top
thing
of
is,
it.
right, they've just gone up a building.
Yes. After
To
walking the highway.
get where? There's no bridge going over there. Like it seems like you would have
Yes.
hit a dead end no matter what.
The
Yeah.
geography is very confusing.
Yeah.
It is.
In hindsight, yeah, it's very.
What they're implying that was their route. They needed to go through that walkway, and there's zombies in the way. Then why did you climb the stairs? Wouldn't it just to be go through the hotel to the other side?
Well, I think
But,
this- I think that's
unless
what-
they wanted to get a look.
Yes, a look to see this
Yeah,
because
to
they
see
said
this.
that in the winter or something that they're all packed inside. So presumably they could just go straight past.
Yeah.
Now they're all spilling onto the
Holy
floor
crap.
like a bunch of beans, so they can't go through there.
But if you knew there was this quantity in certain buildings, I would avoid those buildings like a plague.
Oh, it's almost like you would get a route.
Yeah.
That's why they have routes. That's
But
what
their
I said.
route is literally taking you in front of buildings that they seem to already know has insane amounts of zombies inside.
But I mean, you could just assume that most buildings have them, which is why I'm saying they shouldn't be making noise in buildings.
Yeah, it shouldn't be too.
You would be cautious to the possibility that all buildings should have that number in.
Yeah.
But if you actually have confirmation that this building does, I wouldn't be going near it.
That's why they're going to the other one.
Okay, so maybe they climbed the hotel to get a vantage point to see. That I could excuse. Okay? They don't say that though.
No, they don't.
But I mean, come on, that's one of those things that's applied. If they say it, you'll be like, would you really?
No.
have to say it?
Like this is one of my standards of storytelling. If there are important plot points, like it's a flaw in writing if the audience needs to fill in important plot points that aren't at least hinted at. House of the Dragons did this great, where they don't explain everything, but there is at least little clues and indications that clearly indicate the conclusion. Where this one,
Time passing.
look, maybe I'm on the fence. This is on the borderline, really, because I guess if you just look at it from what they're doing, they look at using it as a viewpoint, so perhaps it's not as bad as I'm saying. I'm not giving it a free pass, though. Oh, sorry, I'm not.
If we
I'm
were,
getting this one pass, but I'm making sure I'm being critical and not letting it get away with anything yet. We'll see.
if we were in a zombie apocalypse and we climbed a building and I was like, okay, yeah, I see a bunch of zombies down there, and you go, what were we doing? I'd think you're an idiot. Like, let's be real here. What do you think I'm doing? I'm making sure.
They had it in to do that though with Ellie. It's like, well, if we were wanting to help, why do we climb the building? And then Joel could have said, to see what's in front of us, dumbass.
She's looking now, and she's going, oh, okay.
Okay. But they already had that kind of exchange with Ellie where Joel was like, she's like, I can't swim. And it's like, he calls her a smart ass or dumbass at some point. And it's like,
that was good. That was good.
Good line, you know.
I like that. The animosity between them is
okay. Very important plot point set up here. This is where they explain to her about the fungus could grow miles away and send signals back. All right. I don't think it's forced in terms of general conversation trying to tell her how dangerous the world is.
I don't think it's
set up to what happens at the end of that.
I just don't think that's possible. Like, we're talking miles.
I'm not convinced on the
yeah, like, I just don't think that is even physically possible.
I mean, maybe like closer by? Sure.
That has interference.
Sorry, Gogan.
I think close by it can work, but
yeah,
again, this isn't something that I remember.
Well, this would be interesting.
If it was set up as close by, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. But we've watched them go on like overpasses, so it's implied that they're very far away.
Yeah. Like if this was the case, I would be like looking at every friggin' footstep I make. Because you saw how little and nondescript those things are.
I also want to mention...
Was that in the game? Sorry, the length of the tendrils thing? Because this has now become an important plot point. It justifies what happens at the end of the episode.
I have to go back and look because I don't remember that.
Yeah, I was about to say, I don't think that's...
I think it was a lot simpler in the game where it was just you go into certain areas, there's a bunch of clickers around. If you make noise, you're in trouble.
Because you're honestly pointing out something very valid here. And what annoys me now is that you could achieve what you wanted in the plot with something that made more sense now.
Well, it's not only that they can do that, it's more how they do it. Like, it's at the end, the end bit, where they just basically like instantly grow and touch. That's like, I don't know anything that can do that.
You know what they could have done? Like, it answers this easily. They could have said the clickers have a high-pitched type of scream that is inaudible for your regular ears. It's like dogs' screams, but that can travel miles and it can alert other clickers to your exact location. Well, you could achieve that with there, and then at the climax, you could have one clicker just looking like it's streaming like, and you can't hear it, but then they know exactly what it's doing, and they're like, oh crap. So you can. What annoys me is you can achieve what they want in the plot with more logically consistent, justified mechanics with the world building.
I'm not opposed to it in its theoretical stage, because there are plants and different life forms that can, when you touch them, they know certain things. That is possible. It's just in this, the length seems to be crazy, and not only the length, but like how quick it like touches the dead bodies at the end. Like,
well, I mean, impulses through organic neural stuff can go pretty darn fast. I mean,
yeah. Oh, no. I mean, when it's growing out of the ground,
that
and to the fingers, that's like.
And look, my explanation isn't great either, because basically what my explanation should set up then that these clickers would be screaming like out and alerting their friends every time they come into someone. So maybe it's not perfect, but then it could be just really loud sounds. We're talking like explosive sounds can alert them.
Well, that's how it was in the game.
Was it? Because they get to this thing and there's bombs and explosives. Something could accidentally go off.
Yeah,
where
that was
when Joel like opens the thing, it could have been booby trapped or something like that. It's like crap, and he jumps the cover, big explosion, and then they're like, damn it, they heard us. They're going to be here.
There's also the problem of they're not physically connected to the floor, the ground, where it actually alerts them. So how exactly?
The fly, it's okay.
Shad, you don't understand. He has this obsession of trying to kill flies with swords, all right?
Well, because they interrupt our videos. Basically, they're not physically connected to the actual fungus, like those ones lying on the ground. So how exactly is that telling them? Like, usually when these things are like passing these signals, they're physically connected to it. Okay. So a scream it's actually a pretty good idea.
I think but even that has problems. Really loud sounds at work.
I think I just prefer it how it was, honestly.
Which was just really loud sounds?
And just when you're in proximity to them, that's when you're at the most.
I'm just saying it opens up a lot of holes that you're kind of like, really?
Yeah, and it kind of does it for one payoff.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other stuff you got to do.
I'm very curious going forward if it's still going to be to the same like degree.
Yeah, I wonder, like, because if this was like a one-off that they use that mechanic, I'll be pissed because they just forced
Yeah,
it
that'll
into the
be
episode.
really.
Okay, so now we come to the apocalypse fungus house, and look at it! It's literally growing out of the windows and the doors.
I suppose they're like, oh, it's dead, but
Yeah,
like, no,
it'll be fine. Just go in that. And what it is is like they're trying to say they can't climb over the rubble to the side. It's like you could, might be a bit, fiddly.
Why not try that building over there?
Higher chances of your life being dead and going into apocalypse house versus climbing over. And the other building next door, it's like it's broken everything, but it seems open. Easy. Like I'm not convinced.
Yeah, I'm not.
I will agree here because when I saw that, I'm like, I could climb that.
Yeah.
That doesn't look too bad.
And it
It's
seems
funny
like
because they kind of undermine themselves because remember that other scene with the bunch of rubble? Like, Tess had no problem climbing that.
climb that rubble. That doesn't seem that much difficult. And it seems like they needed to get to the roof. Get to the roof for this building. Interestingly, there's a lot of rubble on the side that gets you nearly 4/5 up the side of the building. And so it's just like, and again, I'm just so frustrated because what they actually want to achieve, having them attacked by clickers, the zombies things, they could have just like made the building look perfectly innocent on the outside.
At
It's
least
safe. We've tried it out. And then she's like, are you sure it's safe? It's like, well, nothing's a guarantee, but this is usually safe. And then
at least they've tried to make it look like there's no other route. Like it's sandwiched in between. Like you can't just walk around. They've tried to do that. I agree. I literally saw that. I'm like, I can climb that.
There was an attempt.
There was an attempt.
That's it.
But that deserves to go on the Reddit page, some retarded attempt, because like at least they tried, right?
It's not a good try.
Look at this.
Yeah, because
It's not gonna talk.
yeah, certainly could try.
And then I was like, don't touch it.
Yeah, especially with these rules.
Yeah, this is where I'm getting confused with the rules. Is touching the crap. Like, and they say there could be spores that come out of exploding things. I don't know what the rules of the spores, because breaking it open with your foot maybe release spores.
That's why the spore thing is kind of like I'm kind of on the side. It's like, is it? Because
I don't know. I'm still leaning.
they would have masks on. Basically, at this point,
Yeah.
they'd have masks on, and if they touches it, it's like, okay, they have masks on.
And the only person that wouldn't have a mask on is Ellie.
Well, she puts them on just to, look.
The spores, like, I don't know how well they do in the end, but the spores are really problematic if you're actually trying to do it logically, because spores could technically stick to your clothing, okay? And as soon as you take that mask off and you get knocked and everything, like the only way it would work is if you put that mask on when you leave, and when you come in, you get fully decontaminated.
Yeah.
And so,
oh yeah, that's again. I want to make it clear. I don't think The Last of Us is perfect.
so
I'm not one of the people that thinks it's like.
if I was adapting it, the spores would be a bit like, if we're not being fully consistent with how spores actually work in the real world, I could see them.
I'd rather just
pulling
have
it
the
back
breathing
in.
thing.
Maybe, yeah. So
Like, don't breathe them in.
okay. You could have it like spores only remain. It's not how fungus spores really work, to my knowledge, because you can buy like dried spores for mushrooms and plant them, and they'll sprout, and so they can stay around for a while. Because I was going to say, what if these type of spores only remain viable for a couple of minutes once they leave the actual host, and then they die quickly because
maybe
they find a new host.
Maybe I should make it clear, like with how the spores are in the game, they're always in like enclosed spaces.
Yeah, in buildings and stuff.
Okay,
Always there.
Yeah.
Never outside.
That does imply maybe direct sunlight could damage them, which is weird because they're organic. But there are ways you could try and justify.
They did imply that sunlight, they don't like sunlight.
Those clickers don't really like the sunlight.
Okay. It's interesting. It would be interesting, like if direct sunlight actually kills the fungus.
Didn't you see that? When the sun was going on all the beans laying on the ground, they all
react to it.
Yeah,
That's
they didn't
true.
like it, yeah.
But they haven't gone all the way to fully say that kills the stuff.
They've got a lot of explaining to do, pretty much. That's what we're getting at.
Does sunlight, like, are they like, orcs in Lord of the Rings, where if they hate it so much, it takes a lot of pushing for them to go into the sunlight?
Again, it's been a bit since I've played it. I don't think I've ever just seen a clicker outside. That's just... Yeah.
So they go in, they find some dead, and then they find a dead body that's been recently hacked up, basically.
Yeah, this should have been another big sign. Leave. Go on. Off you go.
My immediate thought of this is like, where did he come from? Like,
Yeah.
is there just like he looks unarmed? He looks like he's just been chilling like in his house.
Yeah.
Like,
And
they are not like in some safe zone or anything. They're in the middle of nowhere.
what annoys me about this one, right, is by Joel and I forget her name, but their reaction, Tess, is clearly like clickers did this. From looking at it, it doesn't look like clickers did it. I don't see bite marks, and I don't see any infection spreading. And so it would have to have been in the last hour for the infection not to spread. Because to my understanding, even if they kill the person, the infection can still spread and then control them again.
Yeah.
They'll get up like a zombie.
I will admit, this doesn't look like that. This looks like someone hit him with like a baseball bat.
But Joel and Tess's reaction is, this is zombie stuff. And okay, so they know it is, and you're still going in. You know this place has live clickers in now. And shock horror, that's exactly right. It's like, come on.
I mean,
I would have been like, nope. I would have been nope when I saw the building, but now.
Could have been. I guess they thought, we've had experience like sneaking around clickers and all that, which that's like a poor excuse.
Because he even says like before quiet, now silent. And so it's like,
So one of the things that I would probably do is I would look at the building and I go, okay, I would throw like a Molotov in there, burn it down, and like come back the next day and like walk across it. That's like how I would logically think about it. If there was no other way to pass.
If you set it on fire, it was stone on the outside though, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because then the structure should remain somewhat intact. It's hard to say.
But everything inside will be burned. And presumably there's a front door and back door. You just walk through.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that they could have done, honestly.
Yeah.
Oh, like, look at this. Come on,
I know.
guys.
Yeah, because they wanted to have a moment where they could finally show off the clickers.
They could have achieved it without
so
making
many
them
other
look
ways.
retarded.
There's so many other ways.
Yes.
Could have just done a normal building.
And so this is where they actually hear a clicker sound. And look, everything works well enough in terms of the suspense from this point, but how they got here was stupid. They could have just gotten here without showing any bad things, and then they get surprised, like, damn it, we thought this was safe. If they give any indication that was safe, they didn't. And then a clicker just, because they established that clickers could appear anywhere and it would have been fine.
Yep.
So I feel, like I said, very frustrated that it's like they went out of their way to make them look stupid.
Just sneak through a building and then they're just there. That is just, it would be better.
So something about this the upcoming scene is how they fight. So it's pretty clear from the scene that headshots work exceptionally well, but
Except when they don't.
They didn't though. They were shooting them in the arms and limbs and stuff.
2 shots in the head to drop.
Yeah, but I'm saying most of the shots they were doing were to the torso, and then as soon as they went for the head, it's like it's over now.
I have to admit. Why doesn't anyone have swords?
Yes, I was thinking. I'm like, why don't you have swords?
Swords would be really useful if you want a silent, instant KO decapitation.
Yeah.
Get a friggin' Kriegsmesser, something really chunky, or even a katana, a good heavy chopping sword, right? And that would actually be surprisingly effective, especially that shots to the torso have little stopping power with these things.
Yeah.
A sword has a lot of stopping power, and because of danger of range, you might say it's bad. Thing is, these things close the distance really quickly, and your gun has very little chance to stop them. It's making all this noise.
I was about to say it's very loud as well.
It's very loud.
Guns are very, very loud. So.
And so when I'm watching this thing is this close. It can't hear them. If you just had the sword, they can't see you. It's just like, this is the perfect situation for a sword. No one has it. Very pissed off. Triggered.
That's not in the game either, and now I feel.
But I want to be clear, that's like a zombie trope. Like all these zombie movies, they always have guns, and it's like America. Sometimes, a blade will do you better in a situation.
Not only
that's more.
medieval armor would be friggin' phenomenal in a situation like this. Tell you what, zombie apocalypse breaks out, the reenactors are just going to handle it so much better than the guys with their guns.
Honestly, Europe will handle it really well.
They got it there. Well, I've already done a video on Shadiversity about how a medieval world would handle a zombie apocalypse, and it actually are really well set up to handle it better than the modern day.
Nice big high walls in their castles.
High castles would be great against zombies.
Yeah, it's almost as if there was a show out there that could have done that whole idea really well. I wonder what one that really ruined that. Yeah, I'm still bitter.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Game of Thrones, obviously.
Oh.
That could have handled that really well.
Yeah, memory hold that. Instead of like, being in the castle, let's go outside the castle.
Let's go outside.
That's going to work, boys.
I could have a whole video on that too on Shadiversity. And so, as a swordsman, medieval enthusiast, when I'm watching this, I was just thinking, I was envisioning myself in the same situation with a sword. And would be sick, because I got a lot of swords. So, guys, I got you covered, okay?
Yeah.
Because look how close they get. And and ready, here's the reveal where she makes a noise, she like gasps, and it's like,
yeah.
And
it looks good.
Looks good. Looks very good.
Yeah, that's how I imagine clickers, although, I don't know. Part of me wants to see more of like the human part as well.
They all look
go more messed up.
The same. All the ones they fight looks almost like exact copy of this, where I thought in the game they have more variety and differences.
There is a few
variety. More variety.
In this, because I thought they looked the same. Maybe I missed it, but it looked like it all had this kind of.
Well, the thing is, we have the same issue that we run into with these shows. It's always too dark.
Really?
Always.
I don't think it was that bad in this one.
I don't know that.
And usually I'm the first person like I can't see anything, but this one I was like, yeah, it's all right.
It's not as bad as Willow.
Not as bad, but it's still.
The flashlights might help it out because we get moments of bright clarity because of the flashlights.
That's a great shot right there, though.
It is, and look. Same observation. It felt inconsistent as how difficult it is. These things. Can you kill it by torso shots? Because it seems like sometimes they can't, but other times it looked like they dropped it from torso shots. Does it have to be in the head? And if it's in the head, like.
I'm pretty sure these ones has to be in the head.
That's what I thought. That every single one that they dropped here, the two of them, were in the head for headshots, which is why when they kept shooting the torso, I was like, why are you doing that?
I'm just thinking back to my time in the game where it's like, I'm using my shotgun on these.
See,
so
if I was to try and extrapolate this thing logically based on how they're supposed to work, it feels like the fungus has the neural connections that are forcing the corpse to move, right? Yeah. And it grows in different areas all over the body, and it's like the entire fungus forms part of the brain that's controlling them, which makes me think a shot to the head wouldn't actually drop these things. You would need to take out at least 20% of the fungus that's controlling the body to do it.
So that was something I didn't want to bring up because it's a whole can of worms. It's like I just can't think of any, like there's nothing I can think of to fix that logic hole. It's just like,
I mean, again, it's the same
it's literally just like it is what it is for that. Like,
and I guess it's just the world building. They say they rewrite the brain, so therefore if you take out the brain you drop the clicker, I guess. Look, and then it would be headshots to properly take them out, but also decapitations.
If you really want to go down the fungus hole. That sounded weird. That's why I landed on me.
Fungus hole.
I thought you were talking about Cardi B's.
One of the issues is why do they act so animalistic? Because fungus isn't an animal.
It's true.
So like there's different things where you could really laser focus, and I feel like we're just at the point where it's like there's some things we're just gonna have to go. Yeah, that's just how it is.
We can kind of do that, but we'll still point out the inconsistency first. So I'm just seeing, like, they're unarmored. They're wearing regular clothes. Like, again, a sword would just be so perfect for this. Because, like, there are swords that are made to take on armored opponents, but then there are swords that are made that are just cleavers, like, or just, like, slash things to bits. And I'm talking about falchions, messes, broad-bladed longswords, and katanas.
This is America, right?
Scimitars.
Use a cutlass.
Oh, even
cutlasses would be around.
You know what would also be really good? A friggin' machete.
Yeah, that's funny? Another one. They're currently in the museum in like the
revolutionary
period museum, where they're surrounded by like revolutionary guys. It's like I'm sure there's a sword in there.
There's a sword there. Save it, man.
I actually thought that's what they were going to do. I thought they were like going to use one of the guns or something in the cabinets.
Why do people appreciate swords when they really would be?
Well, that's the thing. I'm pretty sure in the game Joel gets a machete.
Oh, does he?
I'm pretty sure he does.
Even a machete. Machetes actually would be pretty good because they're made to cut and slash and also be more durable than swords against harder materials. And so a machete would be great.
Because do remember it's been 20 years. So it's like everybody's still trying to use guns 20 years later. It's like you wouldn't have used blades. You wouldn't have thought about blades. Yeah. Why does nobody have blades
Everyone would be friggin' holding a sword as a backup.
Honestly, I would prefer that sort of gameplay.
Me
that
too.
Would be great.
Me too.
But they didn't do it there either.
People are going to mention in the comments there's a zombie game being made that's based in a medieval setting.
I saw that. I saw that. Yeah, I'm pretty hyped about that.
I was satisfied with the gameplay footage that they showed where,
I'm going to have to check this out.
Night-wrecking zombies. Oh, yes. Oh yes, and like we've been focusing on the swords things. Let's not go away from the armor thing as well. Like,
Yeah.
and like a fully decked out suit of armor, even mail, chainmail, right, would nearly make you invulnerable to these things. They can't bite through it. They can't scratch through it. Your only vulnerabilities would be your eye openings and stuff. Or if you get swarmed and then ripped limb from limb.
So kind of like Mandalorian armor, right?
But armor would be great. Even really thick Gambison they couldn't bite through.
Yeah.
Like this.
Yes, they wouldn't be able to bite through this.
Oh, okay.
Oh, this is actually thinner. Like actual armor grade Gambison is a lot thicker.
Yeah.
And that's like the one I wear. Yeah, so...
Well, there we go.
So even people they'd be wearing makeshift armor at the very least, or really thick clothing.
I agree.
That would be good.
But anyway, frustrating. So there's a back and forth. They shoot one in the head eventually. Should we try and show how difficult it is to drop this thing? I don't know, because sometimes YouTube gets pinged for like violent content and it's graphic, so we might have to skip it.
The rules are very
Inconsistent.
They get separated, right? And as soon as Tess appears again, I was like, oh, of course she's bitten. If she was having to tangle these things up,
that's the thing. I called that pretty quick, but I was remembering the game actually made it a little more harder to know when she got bit.
Really?
Yeah, you have no clue. So in the game, it comes as a shock.
Does that look like a bite? That looks like a scratch.
Okay.
It looks like the top
Teeth?
Yeah.
Maybe. All right. Maybe. I'm just like, oh. Okay. So
I'm curious, like what happens if you like knock out all their teeth? And they're just like little gummies.
they'll slobber over you, or they'll try and French you.
That's a good way to put it.
Well, that's a discussion.
We'll come to that.
We'll get to that.
That was bizarre. I was like, what?
Yeah, I can't wait to tell you in the game how Tess dies, because you're going to find that interesting.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. Okay, so they go through all of that just to get to the roof.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what the friggin' hell? I'm just...
But hey, at least we got to see the clickers, and that was
So,
it was
all
pretty
right,
well
you
done.
know what I would be doing right here, okay? My first instinct, I lost track of her. Ellie actually shows that she got bit here. I'll be like, check over yourself, look for cuts. Do it right now. We got to make sure. You might have been nicked without knowing. Do it, okay? The fact is like, are you all right? Yeah, I'm all right. And like, I'll be like, no. I'll always be like, everyone, strip. I'm sorry, it's got to be done. This is one of the realities of the apocalypse, okay? Like, seriously.
Okay.
Because what if someone actually did get bit they didn't know? What are you laughing at?
I mean, like, how would you not know you got bit?
Have you never cut yourself without realizing it?
No.
I have. Yeah, it happens. Especially when adrenaline is up and things. Because they're getting knocked around and they're probably getting poked
Right, okay,
and hit and
fair
stuff.
enough. With adrenaline, yes, I have not noticed. With adrenaline.
Okay.
I was just thinking, like, in general. Yeah, fair enough.
And so, yeah, I'll be like, we would double check everything. Then they just gloss over it. It's like, because they know they want the reveal later on.
But even then, like, it's not like she got bit on like an ankle or something. She got bit right here. So it's like, you're going to notice that even with
Exactly.
adrenaline.
Oh, well, not only, I think she knows.
Yeah.
I'm saying that Joel would know, but that thing must have gotten really close to also push aside the clothing and get underneath, because there's no mark on the clothing. It didn't go.
I was going to mention that, but I thought maybe because she was on her back, like the jacket might have opened.
I don't know.
Sometimes you've got to give it a pass when it's very minor stuff like that.
No, we don't. All right, so she's fine, whatever, keep going. And they cross the building to get to the other side.
Why did Joel cross the to get to the other side?
And I don't know, they're on top of another building now that just climbs down to the other
Again,
side.
the geography is just so confusing.
So yes, you could have just gone around.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if it takes a kilometer to get it. You're all...
Yeah.
By doing that, literally, they got Tess killed. That was their thing. Your stupidity ended up with Tess dying.
But you see plot.
Yeah.
But that's not an excuse. That's my criticism of the Rings of Power. You can achieve what you want in the plot by also justifying it logically.
Yeah, there's a better way to do it.
Okay, so this is the city. Yay, whatnot. They're walking. And then they get to... I was actually surprised. I thought they were going out of the city in the bush somewhere in some outpost.
Which
and
means,
so,
why would you put it in the city.
Exactly. I was like, this is a really bizarre place to have a really special research center in a zombie-infested hellscape with no real protection. Like, why would you do it here?
I don't think it was a research center. I'm pretty sure it was just a place where they were going to drop Ellie off.
Yeah, because they go to the...
I thought this was a research center.
No, because there's another place that's a research center.
That's properly walls and stuff.
Okay, so this was the drop. I will draw them.
drop-off.
They wanted to find the most kind of maybe secure place.
Yeah, 'cause
big
there's
brick
trucks
stone building, and maybe they thought that was secure, and it ended up not being. I don't know. Like, buildings seem to be the danger parts. If you wanted to set up a base camp just for a couple of days, wouldn't it be not in buildings?
I agree, but when I look at this building, I think all stone. If you fortified all those windows, that would be a lot of room, lots of high up. Like if I'm thinking of like somewhere I wanted to set up, I still wouldn't want to be in a city.
I wouldn't be setting up inside a building if it's an infested city like this. Building would be the last place I'd be setting up base camp.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so no one's there. He goes up, blood, shots.
Yeah,
that looked like gunshots, though.
Well, it was.
It was, but then they show that they got attacked. Oh, they got attacked by zombies. One got infected, and then they killed each other. And so it implies they're fighting infected. Does that mean people who are semi-infected use guns?
Should I just say how the game did it?
Yeah.
Fedra found them, like the authoritarian police in the first episode. That's what happened.
Which
it
makes
wasn't
sense.
clickers.
But they say it's clickers here.
That's why it's like, ugh.
Because
I'm struggling with this episode now.
Because they're implying now that clickers, look at it, these are bullet holes. Look at that's all bullet holes. So clickers were using guns now.
I guess.
Well, I think what I'm thinking about is like, imagine you're infected and it's like, okay, they're going to kill me in like...
But you know you're dead.
Yeah, but I mean like...
Yeah, look, you would be but you can't it'd be hard to...
Terrorist people who are doing terrorist things, like, I'm not going to let you kill me. That's not too far of a stretch for me.
Maybe.
Possibly, but I think I prefer the other version.
Yeah,
That's
the other
fair.
version makes
Yeah.
much
That's
more
fair.
sense. So everything's dead. Tess is freaking out, and then she's like, "You
Yeah,
have to." Now she's suddenly more for the cause. She could cure everyone. She's clearly immune to it. So you got to take her to some other place. Promise me, and then she reveals that she's been bitten.
Yep, this is all.
And all right,
See, that is a bite mark.
is it? Yeah, okay,
That's
you're
a
right.
bite
That is a bite mark. The thing is, her clothes must have pulled off that level for the teeth to get there. And look, it's forced so she could hide the bite mark and there'd be no outward sign, but it means it's very, contrived that the clicker got under the clothing and bit her in that spot. Yep, she's fine. This is, again, the back and forth.
Yeah, this is
trying to
pretty
get
much
in.
all like one from the game.
Then a guy's alive. Joel shoots him in the head to take him out. And then this.
Yeah.
So
They grow around.
they grow incredibly, like, instantly.
Okay. I'm doing what you're doing here. What if they're not growing? They're just curling. They're already that long, and now they're just kind of, coming out from the ground and curling around. It looks like growing. I grant it. Like this one looks like growing, but it could be reaching out.
Here's the thing, that it feels like it should be more like the flood from Halo than it is Last of Us. That's what I'm getting vibes here when I saw this. It's like,
They're getting up, all the zombies. Loud sound. Loud sound is the better option. Like,
Yeah,
like I'm
easily.
talking explosion sound would be way better. And
yeah, for some reason I wanted the clickers to be the thing that chases them, not the.
Because if you had an explosive sound, like while they're in there, Tess was throwing things, she could have knocked something down, a grenade accidentally pops off and they jump to the side and they're like, damn it, there's no way they didn't hear that. They're on their way. How long do we have? A minute, maybe. And then they're like, crap. They could have achieved it so much better. But Tess is like, I'll take him out with me. She pours down the things. Oh, look, I like Joel's just... calculation here.
Yeah, like,
and he's
we
just
gotta
like,
go. That's it. It's the same with the first episode. He's like, the world's exploding. We're doing this. We're going there. We're doing.
I think what I like about this,
I like
they
that.
show him hesitate, but not overly hesitate. It's only briefly. He's like, damn it. Well, that sucks. And then he's like, I gotta go. It just snaps. And I'm taking it slow because I'm pausing, but he just grabs and doesn't even look back. It's just like, there's no other option. I like that. Oftentimes movies like this make people hesitate beyond reason because even though you have a zombie horde coming to you, you know you gotta book it. And he's just like, we're booking it. And she's like, no, we can't leave her, which makes sense for a more emotional child.
Yep.
And Joel is just like, business.
Yeah, I think that's why I was giving this episode a lot more, because they nailed a lot of character stuff.
Yeah.
This was
good.
This was all really solid.
Yeah. And then it's a little silly.
Yeah.
It's like, if your lighter is having trouble, pick up a grenade. All right. Like, there's a lot of other ways to ensure that this plan works.
At least shake it.
Yeah, like to rely on a flimsy lighter when you had grenades next to you.
Yep.
Come on, right? And so
Yep.
it's like she can't think. And then a zombie looks at her, right? And this gets weird. This gets very weird.
I don't understand this.
The zombie, instead of just tries to French her. Like, what? These zombies are like, if you're infected, we're not going to bite you, we're going to rape you.
Druckmann is a very strange man.
This is fetish. This is really weird.
This is something he directed. This is him.
I do want to point out, Marcus disagrees, but I think those little tendril things look like the little tendrils from the ponytails from Avatar when they connect. They look like the same thing.
So the tendrils out of the mouth, that didn't seem like a game thing.
No.
It's not. That's what I thought.
No, that's not how that works.
Why?
Druckmann's a weird guy. That's all I got.
And then, not only that, then there's the Frenching, and it feels like they only put it in there for a gross out moment, even though it's retarded. Like, why would zombies do this? There's no, unless they actually want to make it consistent that they can sense the infection someone else, and that just turns them on. They're ready to go.
Well, they don't reproduce like that, so I think it's more trying to infect her, maybe.
Then why are all the zombies trying to kiss everyone?
I don't know.
Well, they're trying to bite them, maybe.
It's really strange. And I don't want to show it. It's gross as hell.
Yeah.
But she's getting Frenched, and then she finally lights it.
Yeah.
It's like, good thing that zombie decided to French her instead of tackling her and knocking the lighter out of her hand, because that would have been problematic.
The only...
It already was problematic in that sense.
The only defense I can have is that she didn't want to fight back, because if she did, it would attack her while she's trying to do the light. That is like the only thing I can
this
think
contradicts every single behavior we've seen in these zombies so far. And so now, I feel like that's the only time it'll happen. Where only one of these zombies had a hard on, decide to, French someone, right? Because they wanted the scene to happen the way it is, because the directors are weird.
Yes. Yes.
Instead of having the zombies, because in every other instance, the zombies are trying to eat people.
Yeah.
I agree. I'm just saying that's the only thing my brain can grasp that that's him.
It's breaking your brain, man, because this is come on.
Honestly, the more I think about it, the less I'm happy. The less I like this now, because I think I prefer... Okay, if you had seen this scene, what I'm about to tell you. In the game, Tess takes out a whole bunch of those military guys that are authoritarians.
That'd be cool as well.
And she just gets shot dead.
Yeah. And look, this would have been... I wouldn't have an issue if, the Frenching thing was weird. She would... still hero moment. Maybe she's picked up a couple grenades. The zombies open. They're running. She's like, come at me, effort. Some stupid action trope like that. But still would be cool. A lot better than freaking getting sexually assaulted by a zombie fungus face.
Yeah.
You could have achieved the exact same outcome by just having the lighter work when one stops and then dropping it. Like,
I always feel like Druckmann is so drowned in the social justice warrior narrative that is like, kissing people without their consent is bad. We've got to have a message of unwanted physical contact, and we'll have it.
I wouldn't put that past him, to be honest. I can't put them past him. Yeah.
And so,
I mean, at least we've achieved similar things to what the game achieved.
And then
we're in the same place now.
Oh yeah, and then Joel is like, time to go, and then that's the close of the episode. This is the closing scene.
I would be making sure that she's like in front of me, because there was a whole horde of them coming.
Good point.
There's no doubt that she killed all of them. She would have killed a lot of them, but not all of them. So I'd be like, hey, we still gotta go.
Yeah, good point. Good point.
That's a nitpick.
So it's interesting. Like I said, the enjoyment engagement of this episode was higher because more stuff happened, even though it was still slow. But yet there was some really bizarre and stupid things in it. So I'm almost on a 6 now in retrospect, but the enjoyment kind of does push it 7. But
I might actually be harsher now, because I'm kind of down at a 5.
Really interesting.
I still think it's a 7. I just know where it's all going, so it's still like can't recommend it.
Like I think the weird zombie sexual assault is like just one of these warning signs.
Oh, yeah.
Which is like,
I genuinely think the most of the season will be fine. Like it'll be like this.
It's trying to say any man that kisses a woman without his consent is a monster. That's the message.
It is Druckmann.
It's one of those things like, Shad, you're being crazy. And then it's like, it is him. And I'm like, yeah, all right, maybe.
Like,
okay.
I wouldn't. We are gone so far into crazy land, right? That people are willing to. Where even stupid meme parody things that you think would be dumb that you would only put in to mock someone, they're doing it unironically. Velma. Okay?
Yeah. Don't remind us about that.
I laughed at 2 Velma jokes the other day.
We'll talk about that in another video. All right, so there's Last of Us episode 2. Closing thoughts, gentlemen?
Still liked it. It hasn't booted me out yet.
Very solid, enjoyable. I like the sort of, I know it's not fresh take, but on TV shows, fresh take of zombies. But still.
Warning signs.
When the season's over,
we'll talk.
We'll talk.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us, everyone. And as always, stay on watch.